Here's a truth most men refuse to admit. When a woman reaches out to you, the way you respond can either make or break your attraction, and most men blow it without even realizing it. It sounds simple, right? She contacts you, you respond. But it's not that simple. Every word, every tone, every pause carries weight. How you react shapes her perception of you instantly. Some men think responding immediately with eagerness shows interest, while others try to play it cool so hard that they come off distant or disinterested. Both approaches can kill attraction if handled the wrong way. Here's the thing. When a woman initiates contact, she's giving you a window into her attention, curiosity, or emotional state. Ignoring the psychology behind it is like holding a treasure chest and opening it with the wrong key. You're just wasting the opportunity. How you respond communicates much more than "I got your message." It communicates your value, your emotional control, and whether you operate from need or confidence. Some men panic the moment their phone buzzes. They overthink, overexplain, or try to impress instead of staying grounded. Others freeze completely, unsure if they should respond quickly or wait to seem cool. The result? Confusion, loss of attraction, and missed chances. Today, we're going to break down the exact mistakes men make when a woman contacts them, the ones that silently lower your value in her eyes. I'm going to show you why subtle choices matter more than grand gestures, and how a few shifts in your approach can completely change the dynamic. Welcome to the channel. If you're here, you're probably looking to understand women better, stop overreacting when they reach out, and start showing up as the kind of man who commands respect and attraction naturally. That's what this space is about: honest insight, practical advice, and real strategies for modern dating. Now let's dive into the 7 mistakes men make when a woman contacts them and how to handle these moments like a man who knows his value. 1. Replying too fast, losing your edge. One of the biggest mistakes a man can make when a woman contacts him is replying too fast. It seems harmless, even natural. She reaches out and your phone buzzes, so you immediately type a response. But here's the problem. Speed often communicates neediness more than confidence. Imagine this. You're busy with your day, work, gym, or personal projects, and your phone buzzes. It's her. Without thinking, you respond instantly. No pause, no consideration. On the surface, it seems normal, but subconsciously, she starts reading that eagerness. The moment you reply too quickly, it tells her that her attention is more important than anything else in your life at that moment. It signals availability, almost like saying, "I drop everything when you reach out." Women notice these subtle cues, even if they don't consciously think about them. Instant replies suggest a lack of control over your time and emotions. Attraction isn't built on availability, it's built on value and mystery. When you slow down, even slightly, you regain that balance. Waiting a bit, a few minutes, or even a few hours if it feels right, communicates that your life doesn't revolve around her, and that makes your attention more meaningful. That doesn't mean you should ignore her for a day or overthink your response. Overthinking turns into inauthenticity. The goal is simple. Respond thoughtfully, not reflexively. Show her that you have your own priorities, that your time is valuable, and that you're not desperate for validation. Replying too fast also gives her all the power in the interaction. When she knows she can get an immediate response, she feels in control. When you create slight pauses naturally, she starts paying more attention. Your response becomes something to anticipate, not something to take for granted. The key is balance. You don't want to overplay it and act like you don't care, but you also don't want to jump at the first ping. By mastering timing, you maintain your edge. You signal that you're confident, grounded, and self-respecting, traits that are far more attractive than any witty line or clever emoji. Speed is easy to mismanage because it feels reactive and harmless. But in reality, It's one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to either raise or lower your value in her eyes. 2. Overexplaining yourself, the instant attraction killer. Another mistake men make when a woman contacts them is overexplaining themselves. This happens when you feel the need to justify every action, every delay in response, or every emotion. Maybe she asks why you didn't reply sooner, or comments on something you said before, and suddenly you're typing out a long explanation. Here's why this kills attraction. Over-explaining communicates insecurity. It tells her that you need to justify your worth or convince her that you're a good guy. Attraction doesn't come from logic or rational explanations. It comes from confidence, presence, and a clear sense of self. When you feel the need to explain, you move the focus away from your value and onto your need for approval. Men often over-explain because they want to avoid conflict or fear she'll judge them. But here's the catch. Women aren't waiting for you to justify yourself. They're feeling the energy behind your words. A long-winded message full of excuses screams desperation, even if it's polite or well-intentioned. Keep it simple. Short responses with confidence are far more attractive than paragraphs of justification. A simple, "I was busy, just saw your message," or "I'll call later," communicates what needs to be communicated without lowering your perceived value. You don't need to provide a timeline of your day or reasons for every decision. Over-explaining also slows the dynamic. When you give too much, you remove mystery and reduce the emotional engagement. Curiosity drops, and she starts treating you like a known quantity rather than a man who intrigues her. Remember, the goal isn't to be distant or rude. It's to communicate efficiently while maintaining your confidence and autonomy. Every time you over-explain, you give her subtle cues that your attention and validation are up for grabs. That's the exact opposite of attraction. Think of it this way. Women are wired to respond to men who are grounded and decisive. Over-explaining is a direct signal that you're reactive instead of proactive. It makes her subconsciously question your emotional stability and your self-respect. The solution is simple. Keep your messages concise, confident, and direct. Let your actions speak more than your words. When you respond without unnecessary explanation, you stay in control of the dynamic and increase your value in her eyes. 3. Playing too cool. The risk of detachment. On the other end of the spectrum from over-explaining is the mistake of playing too cool. Some men think that if they act distant or indifferent when a woman contacts them, they'll appear mysterious and desirable. The truth is, over-detachment can backfire just as badly as over-eagerness. When you receive a message and respond with minimal effort, one-word answers, long delays without reason, or overly neutral tones, it can signal disinterest rather than confidence. Women notice subtle emotional cues. If you appear completely unaffected or aloof, she may assume she isn't valued or that you don't care. Attraction thrives on a balance, interest that's measured, not overbearing, but still genuine. Playing too cool often comes from fear of appearing needy or desperate. Men convince themselves that showing excitement or warmth is weakness. But ignoring natural responses or hiding genuine curiosity can make interactions feel mechanical. The connection disappears because there's no emotional engagement. The key is moderation. You want to show that you're grounded and not dependent on her attention, but you also want to signal that you're interested and emotionally present. Simple cues, a little humor, light teasing, or brief acknowledgement of her energy, can show that you care without coming across as desperate. Another risk of detachment is that it gives her uncertainty in the wrong way. A little mystery is attractive, but emotional coldness creates confusion and can push her away. She may stop trying if she feels she can't read you at all, thinking the effort isn't worth it. Attraction grows when there's a sense of challenge paired with authenticity, not when she feels completely shut out. Men often overcorrect from the mistake of replying too fast or overexplaining, swinging to extreme detachment. Both extremes reduce attraction. Confidence doesn't mean hiding your reactions. It means expressing them subtly, with self-control, so that your interest feels valuable, not desperate. The bottom line? You don't want to be a robot responding with zero emotion, but you also don't want to throw yourself at her feet. Showing balanced engagement, present, confident, and slightly selective, keeps the dynamic alive and maintains your edge. 4. Ignoring her completely. The backfire effect. Some men believe that when a woman contacts them, the best strategy is to ignore her completely. They think silence automatically boosts their value or makes them mysterious. In reality, ignoring her entirely often backfires. When a woman reaches out, she's giving you a signal, whether it's curiosity, interest, or just a casual check-in. Completely shutting her out doesn't make you seem confident. It makes you appear reactive or unstable. She doesn't know whether you're busy, upset, or simply uninterested. And that uncertainty can push her away instead of drawing her in. Ignoring her also removes your opportunity to set the tone of the interaction. Every message is a chance to show value, humor, confidence, or emotional intelligence. By not responding at all, you hand over control of the dynamic. She begins filling in the blanks herself, and often her story won't favor you. Another problem is the emotional effect on her. When she reaches out and receives nothing in return, she may feel dismissed or unimportant. Instead of building attraction, this approach can breed frustration or disinterest. Some women may even interpret silence as a signal that you're not emotionally mature enough to handle engagement, which kills respect instantly. The key is not to respond like a robot either. The goal isn't to chase her or overcompensate. It's about balance. You want to acknowledge her contact without losing control of your time or energy. A well-timed, confident, and measured response communicates that you're interested, but not desperate. Men often swing too far in the other direction, thinking they're holding frame by vanishing completely. True frame isn't about ghosting. It's about responding on your terms, calmly and intentionally. Your attention is valuable. Showing it strategically increases your perceived worth. Ultimately, ignoring her entirely can create more damage than replying too quickly or over-explaining. The goal is to maintain control while keeping her engaged and curious, not to punish her for reaching out. When handled correctly, a simple, thoughtful response reinforces your confidence, emotional stability, and attraction. 5. Getting emotional too soon. The neediness trap. Another mistake men make when a woman contacts them is showing emotion too soon, especially the kind that signals neediness or overinvestment. This can happen even unintentionally. Maybe she messages you casually, and your response immediately carries desperation, excitement, or worry about how she feels. When that happens, attraction often takes a hit. Here's how it plays out naturally. She texts something simple, like asking how your day went, and you respond with a long explanation about your feelings, frustrations, or how much you missed her. The energy behind that response communicates need rather than confidence. Even if your intentions are honest, showing too much emotional vulnerability too early makes her feel like she's carrying the weight of the interaction. Women are attracted to men who are emotionally grounded, men who have their lives, priorities, and emotions in order. When you react emotionally to her messages immediately, it signals that your stability depends on her engagement. That's the opposite of attraction. She wants a man who can hold his frame, even when she reaches out. Imagine you're catching up after a day apart. She sends a short, "Hey, what's up?" Instead of keeping it light and confident, you reply with, "I was thinking about you all day. I missed you, and I don't understand why you're texting so late." That kind of response communicates insecurity and neediness. It pressures her to manage your feelings, which shifts the dynamic away from mutual attraction and towards obligation. The key is balance. Express warmth and engagement, but keep it grounded. A brief, confident, and playful reply shows interest without sacrificing your frame. You can care, but you don't need to over-explain or over-emote. Emotional control creates curiosity and respect, while emotional overexposure breeds attachment and reduces attraction. Men often fail to notice that this neediness can be subtle. It's not always dramatic. It can be as small as adding too many emojis, over-apologizing for delays, or over-analyzing her words. These small signals accumulate and change how she perceives your value. By staying calm, playful, and confident, you let her feel your presence without putting pressure on her. That restraint, combined with warmth, is what keeps the dynamic engaging and attractive. 6. Turning every message into a debate. One of the most common mistakes men make when a woman contacts them is turning every interaction into a debate or argument. This usually happens when you take everything she says too seriously, analyze every word, or feel the need to correct, challenge, or prove your point. When a woman reaches out, she's often looking for connection, not confrontation. She wants to engage, feel your energy, and gauge your confidence. If you respond by dissecting her message or turning it into a back-and-forth battle, you kill the natural flow of attraction. Debating every point makes her feel judged, exhausted, or even defensive. Instead of enjoying the interaction, she starts questioning whether she wants to continue talking to you. This happens in subtle ways too. For example, if she texts about her day and you reply with corrections, unsolicited advice, or counterpoints, it signals that you're more interested in being right than in connecting. Even if your intentions are good, it changes the energy from playful and engaging to transactional and tense. Attraction rarely grows in tense, argumentative interactions. The key is to pick your battles and keep things light. Humor, teasing, and playful challenges are fine. They build rapport and intrigue. But turning simple messages into debates or lectures is a quick way to create friction instead of connection. If she disagrees or expresses an opinion, respect it or respond with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Another subtle way men make this mistake is by overanalyzing tone or intention in her messages, asking, "What do you really mean by that?" or "Are you saying this because?" turns natural conversation into scrutiny. Women respond better to men who accept the message at face value, respond confidently, and keep the momentum of the interaction alive. Remember, when a woman contacts you, she's giving you attention. Treat it like a gift, not a battlefield. Every interaction is a chance to build attraction, not a debate club. Your role is to engage with confidence and playfulness, not to prove your logic or correctness. Mastering this is simple in concept, but often overlooked. Respond with clarity, lightness, and confidence, and avoid turning messages into unnecessary challenges. Doing so keeps the energy attractive, playful, and under your control. 7. Failing to set boundaries, losing respect before it starts. One of the biggest mistakes men make when a woman contacts them is failing to set boundaries. This might sound harsh, but it's true. If you don't show that you have standards and limits, you risk losing respect before attraction even has a chance to grow. Boundaries are simple. They're about showing that your time, energy, and attention are valuable. When a woman reaches out, how you respond communicates whether you have these boundaries or not. If you're always available immediately, drop what you're doing, or answer every message in detail regardless of context, it signals that your life revolves around her attention. That might feel appealing in the short term, but it diminishes your long-term value. Many men think boundaries mean being cold or unapproachable. That's not true. Boundaries are about consistency and self-respect. They let a woman know that you're a man with a life, priorities, and emotional stability. When she sees that you don't bend over backwards to respond to every whim, it actually sparks curiosity and admiration. Here's how it plays out naturally. She reaches out late at night wanting attention, and you politely acknowledge the message, but make it clear that you'll respond more fully later. She might initially feel frustrated or tempted to push, but over time, she begins to respect that you don't chase validation. That respect is the foundation of attraction. Failing to set boundaries often comes from insecurity. Men fear that if they don't immediately respond or accommodate, they'll lose her. The truth is the opposite. If a woman respects you, your boundaries strengthen the connection. If she doesn't, she's revealing her own priorities. And that's important information. Constructive criticism for men here is simple. Wake up to your value. Stop reacting impulsively to every ping. Stop overextending emotional energy just because she reached out. Your attention is not free. It's a currency, and how you spend it communicates who you are. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cold. It makes you attractive. It shows that you're selective, grounded, and in control of your life. When you combine this with timing, emotional control, and confident engagement, you become the kind of man women notice, respect, and want to pursue. Here's a reality most men don't like to hear. How you respond when a woman contacts you often matters more than anything she says. Your words, timing, tone, and boundaries communicate far more than the content of the message itself. React the wrong way, and attraction fades. Respond with confidence, control, and subtle engagement, and you elevate your value instantly. The mistakes we covered: replying too fast, over-explaining, playing too cool, ignoring her, getting emotional too soon, turning messages into debates, and failing to set boundaries, are all traps that seem minor but have massive consequences. Each one chips away at respect, curiosity, and attraction. The men who avoid these pitfalls aren't lucky. They've learned the subtle power of timing, emotional control, and selective attention. Here's the provocative truth. Most men sabotage themselves before a woman even has the chance to lose interest. The moment you respond poorly, you signal neediness, confusion, or lack of self-respect, all things that lower attraction. On the other hand, when you master your responses, you command attention without chasing it, and suddenly the dynamic changes in your favor. Now, I want to hear from you. Share your experiences in the comments. Tell me how you handled a woman reaching out, what worked, what didn't, or the mistakes you recognize in yourself. I read the comments, and I engage personally, because real learning comes from real stories, not just theory. Remember, responding to a woman isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about showing up as a grounded, confident man who values his time, energy, and presence. Do that consistently, and you'll notice a shift not just in how women respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself. Respect, attraction, and curiosity aren't given. They're earned through the way you navigate these small, everyday moments.